Hello and welcome to MyFusion Helper. My name is Troy Broussard, and in this short video I'm going to show you how the new Hook It Contact helper works. Now this is a unique little helper, and though it is extremely simple, in fact it has absolutely no parameters to configure, so it couldn't be any simpler. However, it's very, very powerful. Now, the helper is designed to trigger notifications whenever a new contact is created. And this is very powerful. It's a webhook interface tied in directly to Infusionsoft's new REST API. So let's first start with a demo of how it works, and then I'm going to show you kind of how to set it up and how to configure it inside of Infusionsoft. And lastly, we'll take a look at some kind of recommended uses and best practices for it as well. All right, so let's dive right in. Okay, here we are inside of MyFusion Helper in one of my test accounts, and I've already logged in, so I saved you that process. And we're going to go ahead and click on Create New Helper. And when we do, we can go into the Hook It, and we'll see it there. And we'll give it a new name, New Contact Hook Helper Demo. Okay, and we'll go ahead and click on Configure. Now, at this point, you're going to be taken to the screen here, and what you'll see is there's really nothing else to configure. Okay, so this one is really, like I said, that simple. There's absolutely no options. All we're doing is turning it on and grabbing some IDs. Okay, so at this point, we just go ahead and say Update, and that will go ahead and create the helper. And I'll show you how we use it. But there are absolutely no parameters whatsoever. Okay, now what we want to do when we create this helper is we then want to copy this link. So we click on the copy link, and you'll notice that this one's a little bit different because instead of having an HTTP goal like or HTTP post like most of our others have here with the copy link, this one is actually copying the goal. Okay, and so we click here and it gives us this API goal name that we want to copy, and that's what we're going to do. So we're going to copy that, okay, and that'll copy it to the clipboard, and then we can go over into Campaign Builder, and I've already deployed one here, but I'll just show you how it works. You would drop an API goal on here, so you would come down here and select an API goal, drop it onto the canvas, and then you double click on that, and you, in the call name, you paste in the API that you just copied from here. Okay, so you copy this API goal, and then you'd come in here and you paste that in to the call name. All right, now don't forget, we get probably, I don't know, 5 or 6 help desk tickets a week about forgetting to change this integration to MyFusion Helper. Okay, so you need to change this integration name to MyFusion Helper, all lowercase, paste in the call name, and then that's it, and then you save it. Now, the way this works is very simple. When any contact now is created in the system, it's going to trigger this API goal, and that allows you to do whatever the heck you want to that contact right when the contact is first created. So we can come in here. I've just got a simple thing where it's just applying a tag when a contact is created. Okay, and if we take a look at the reporting on here, you'll see there's a few contacts queued up here, and I can go into the report view and look at those so that you can see. Now when they're queued, we have to go in here and edit the criteria, and we scroll down here and we change it to show us the queued status like that. Okay, and that'll pull up some contacts, and then I can, pull one of these contacts up, and I can go in here, and sure enough, I can see the tag that was added when the contact was created. Okay, so obviously adding a tag may or may not be that useful to you, but it can be because, for example, perhaps you want to set a new contact tag that is triggers the way your sequences work differently because it's a brand new contact onto your list. Well, you have that ability to do so. All right, so that is how the process works. It couldn't be more simpler. 2 steps: create the helper here, copy the link, and then paste it into an API goal inside of Campaign Builder, and you're good to go. All right, so let's jump back in to the presentation and kind of talk about some use cases for this. Now, one of the things that people like to do with this is email validation. Okay, this is probably the #1 use case for this hook. So understand that, protecting the email deliverability is absolutely vital these days. And so making sure that you have good email contact information is equally vital. So by using a new hook like this, whenever a contact is created, we can immediately validate their email. Now, this means you could have your own suppression list. You could have your own little API that you're implementing if you want to filter out emails that you don't. You can use our email validation hooks to go through and make sure that they didn't make a typo. If they did, take a note or a task to one of your staff members to go in and correct that for the email. Remember that our email validated helper will even give you suggestions of potential email typos. So that's a really good use case and very common. Another is, making sure that your lead sources are being set properly. So I do this a lot with clients when I'm working on their systems, and I want to be able to ensure that everything is cleaned up the way we think it is. So we may go through and extensively revise and clean up the way lead sources are being used and set, but this allows us to monitor it very, very quickly in real time. And for example, if the contact doesn't have a lead source set, it could trigger a Slack notification or a text message to let you know that the data is still not properly, cleaned up, that there's maybe some people that are still slipping through the cracks on the new system you may have implemented, okay? So that's kind of a data verification or validation process that's very, very useful, especially if you're undergoing a lot of changes in your system. Okay, so that's something to consider. And then just real-time lead flow logging with Slack as well. So if you are monitoring a launch or monitoring a particular sale or process, and you really want to know what's happening with your lead flows in this particular funnel, you could trigger that as well. And, you could always do conditional logic in there. You don't have to just notify Slack on every single lead that comes in. You could check if the lead source is XYZ, then do a notification or something like that, right? So if you're monitoring a particular paid traffic funnel that is really sensitive and you got a lot of money going out on it, and you really want to make sure that what's happening with the leads and getting some real-time notifications, then you can do that as well. All right, so those are just a few examples of how you can use this powerful little helper. It's probably the most simplistic one we have, and yet really does open up a lot of potential as well. All right, so make sure and reach out to us on the help desk. That is a wrap for this video. If you need any help, just reach us at help@myfusionsolutions.com.